Alright, buckle up everybody, it's time for another video. Today, the Corsair IRONCLAW RGB, which they sort of advertise as an FPS / MOBA gaming mouse, which I think you just call it a gaming mouse. So anyway, this little guy, optical mouse from Corsair, runs you about 60 bucks online. They tout an 18,000 DPI refresh rate on this bad boy, and it's lightweight, so this whole box actually is pretty light. They tout it as 105 grams. As a person who got used to playing games on quite a heavy mouse, it's kind of weird for me personally, but that's all right. So this is one of those mouses from Corsair that uses the Q system, and it also allows you to store profiles on said mouse itself, so you can cycle through them as you want. And we have 7 programmable buttons, so it's not quite something as crazy as like the Razer Naga or something similar, but it does have several buttons, and we'll go through that. Mouse button type is apparently Omron, which I would guess is the actual physical switches. I didn't really do much research on the button types of mouse switches, but if that is something that matters to you, have at it. And yeah, so basically it's supposed to be really durable. It's, I think they tout like a 2-ish year warranty depending on what you want. So there you go. You also have a variable report rate from something like 125 hertz all the way up to 1,000 hertz, so that's exciting. So let's get it open and see what we've got in the box. I've been really pleased with Corsair's products in the past as far as power supplies, stuff like that. I've had a Corsair mouse before, and it was pretty good, so I assume this will be equally impressive. Okay, box exploded, that's fine. So, we have the mouse, this little fancy box. Let's get it out, see if we get anything else in the box with it. Yikes, okay. All right. So, we have the mouse. And honestly, it looks pretty cool. I do like the look of it. I'll probably put it in some close-up shots just of it. But we have 2 buttons on top here. Likely you can program these or just use them as your up and down DPI. They say 7 programmable buttons, but what they really mean is the mouse has 7 buttons in general. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and a scroll wheel. There's no side scroll with this mouse. There's just a middle mouse click, obviously the mouse wheel, which is actually really cool. It's like this really awesome like treaded pattern. It looks like a tire, but it looks like it'll have really good grip. And then of course we have 2 buttons on the side, 2 buttons on the top, and left and right click. Pretty straightforward there. We have this really beefy USB plug-in. It's like rubber gripped and knurled, so you can really, I don't know, really jam it in there. I don't get it, that's okay. And then of course we've got a very long and very nice braided cable. Oh, I think that's about, let's see, I would say about, 3 to 4 feet in length, probably more like 4. No, wait, hold up. I don't know, that's my arm span, so that's long. I don't know, do they say? Did they say how much cable? I don't think they do. Let me check. Huh, well, I just checked real quick. Corsair doesn't tell you how long the cable is. It's long. You can see it. It's everywhere. But like I said, the mouse is really cool. This part is sort of a matte rubberized finish. These on the side here is this knurled pattern, and it's also rubber. The whole mouse is super, super light, and we also have a protective. Whole mouse is super light. You can see we have the sensor in the middle. It looks like we have a little reset button in case your mouse explodes, and giant slippery mouse pads on the bottom, which is cool, and the knurled patterns on the other side too. So there's some hard plastic here and there, and then we have the places where you actually grab are like really, really grippy. It's also got this cool vent look on the front, which I like. Overall, I think the mouse is really cool. It actually feels really good in the hand. I don't have especially giant hands, but it feels really, really nice in my hand. If you have super huge hands, you might like kind of extend over the top. I think this would be good. You can sort of even get up in sort of a claw, or you can sort of relax back, and it fits in your palm pretty nice. So ultimately, I think you can get quite a bit of hand position on this. There's no real adjustment or anything fancy with this, but keeping in mind we are sitting at about the $60 price range. So yeah, I mean, it's gonna be interesting to see how it does. I'm going to use it for a bit and give you any comments about anything I find on it. But we also have our little instruction guide, which is basically not a whole lot. It just talks about use the cue system, and just like I said, we have left button, right button, middle button, profile, cycle button, DPI button, and forward button, back button on the sides. And then there's some LEDs here and there. So that's about all we got, really. It allows you to keep 3 profiles, so that's cool. And there's an LED somewhere on the body of this mouse. Let's see. Where is it at? Here. So if you see these like 3 lines, these lines are the profiles. So you have like what profile 1, 2, 3. So they'll turn on and off, and that indicates what profile you're using. So we have one of these LEDs is red, green, and blue. So we can cycle through those. And that's about it for this mouse. I mean, there's really not a whole lot to cover with the mouse itself. You get a warranty guide, all that jazz, but stick around for the second half of this video where I talk about how I feel about the mouse and what I think about it in terms of how I use it and all that jazz. Alright, so here's the second half of this video, and I'm just going to be real quick about talking primarily about what I think about the mouse itself after using it for a few weeks. And really the biggest thing here is that the mouse is actually really, really comfortable, and I think that anybody who had hands larger than mine would be perfectly fine with this mouse for the most part. The feet underneath the mouse are really, really big and stable, and they glide across a desk or a mouse pad really, really well. I'm very happy with that. The mouse itself actually feels really, really good. I'm happy with that. So I feel like they did a really good job. Like Corsair really put a lot of thought into the construction of the mouse, and things are good there. If we get to the cons, that's where this list gets a little longer, and oh boy, are there some cons. Almost all of it is down to the Corsair IQ software, and I think that it really lets the mouse down a lot. And to tell you, first and foremost, I said in the video earlier that there was onboard memory on the mouse, that the mouse would remember your profiles, and that's actually not true. I found that out later. It was a misreading when I was reading the specs. It doesn't remember anything, and you wouldn't necessarily know that unless, of course, the software that you use is actually garbage, and that's the case with the IQ software. So the biggest problem here is that when you customize things in the IQ software, if for some reason the IQ software crashes, breaks, disconnects, tries to update itself, which I've seen all 3 of those, the mouse just forgets itself. It goes right back to default settings. So you can't really take the mouse anywhere and plug it into another machine without having the software. So that's kind of sucks. Also, if you lock your machine, which I have a little video we can throw up here. If you lock your machine, the mouse just goes back. So you can see in the video where like I've set my profile with the color and everything, and then it just goes back to oscillating rainbow colors, and it loses all its profile settings as soon as you lock the machine, which is really, really annoying. Also, I didn't get this on camera because it's kind of random, but it changes your profile. So you have like 3 selectable modes on the mouse, and as soon as you even unlock your machine and start doing something with it, if you're the type of person to lock your machine, the mouse just will change periodically to one of the other profiles. So if you're in like profile mode 1,
it'll just change to 2 or 3. It always goes in order for some reason. And that has not fixed itself, and the IQ software has actually updated itself several times, and that hasn't really fixed it. If you're the kind of person who never changes the profile settings, like you just pick one DPI and roll with it like I do, my recommendation would be to just make all of them the same. So you never have to worry about it. If it changes modes, it doesn't matter. So that's like the biggest complaints I have, is that I've tested a lot of mice, and none of them have this stupid I forget everything I ever learned immediately type of deal, and that's really annoying for the amount of money you would pay for this. So honestly, I would say skip this mouse. Just get something else. Get something a little better. Get something that has memory in it. Corsair's IQ software I have not had problems with in the past. I've reviewed a couple of headsets and other things, a keyboard or two that have used the IQ software, and those have been fine, but those all had some sort of onboard memory where they remembered their own profile. This is the first device I've actually used that doesn't have any memory, and it's not good. It doesn't work well. It really points out how, like, the shortcomings of the IQ software. So I think that's about all I have for this, and if you have any questions or comments, leave them below, as always. Thanks for watching.